All right. Hello. Now that we got the mic working.
Yeah.
Hello.
We got the setup. So, welcome. Is this episode 5 now?
I want
to say this is episode 5.
Wow, you guys have been busy.
Yeah, we've been doing this every week.
Cool.
Yeah. So, you guys hear a third voice this week. So this is my cousin Danielle.
Hi.
Danielle is here, and today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about body positivity and the effects of diet culture.
I'm so glad you asked me. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah,
I'm very
absolutely.
excited to be here to talk about what you know, but maybe listeners might not, is a, very close to my heart topic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have you. I want to talk about the first night that you met Hannah. We ended up in a diner.
As all good nights in New Jersey.
And we were the
had a
loudest
True
people
that.
in the damn diner. We were the loudest people in that diner.
Oh my God, by
mean-
far.
And the diner was
We're just
packed.
very inconsiderate, really.
Oh, yeah.
We were their entertainment.
And the diner was packed, too, and we were loud as hell.
Yeah, we were very loud.
It was really funny. I think that was when I saw that waiter that I used to know.
Waiter.
Yeah.
I saw a waiter that once did hard drugs in front of me. So
Delightful.
Yeah. And I explained this situation, and Hannah gave a very good example of what she was like the first night we met, which I explained that story on a previous episode. I think I said, like, oh, he's the one over there with the tattoo. And Hannah went, where? I'll trip him.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. She was like, when he's carrying plates, I'll trip him. And I was like, oh my God.
Savage.
Yeah.
I have to sit on the end.
She was like, let me sit on the end, I'll stick my leg out. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Hannah. Which is really funny. You're very protective.
Violent.
You're-
Really.
You're violently protective.
Yeah.
I'm turning 21 on October 4th.
Woo! Party!
Yeah. And me and Hannah are going bar hopping. And Hannah, when I said, would you want to go bar hopping with me for my birthday, Hannah's response was, I am going to make sure you are so safe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, okay.
Yeah.
Good times are safe times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
safe
I know.
times are good times.
Yeah.
I am always the mom friend. I could be absolutely sloshed. And, like, I'm still
It's
looking
an
around like,
instinct.
is everybody okay? Who's throwing up? Who needs water? Are you okay? I can't walk up the stairs, but I'm finding a way to.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Every group needs one.
Oh, yeah.
We all of us, not mom friends. What are we? Kid friends, I guess. We thank
Kid
you.
friends?
The kid friends, we thank
The
you.
toddler friend?
We appreciate you.
the toddler friend. That's so funny. Yeah.
Don't do 21 shots, please.
No.
No. Oh God, no.
Thanks.
No.
No, when we
I won't
when,
allow them to pay that much money for such small amount of liquor.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
when we go to I'm gonna raise your mic level a little bit. You're a little quiet.
Oh. It's the first time I've ever been told that. Thank you.
Are you on level 1 or level 2?
I don't know, but I can bring myself closer.
Yeah, you're level 2. Okay, there we go. We're good. Because you were so quiet in
Oh,
last
really?
week's episode.
I believe it.
I was doing the editing and I was like, oh God. Which was really funny. I was making the disclaimer for last week's episode, and I think I said something like, "Thank you for your patience while we find our footing and work out the kinks of recording. We appreciate your support." To the 6 people that listen to our podcast,
I love it.
Hey, we would like to give a special shout out to those 6 people.
Yeah,
Yeah, literally.
That was like
The OGs. We
in
love
my
you.
Right?
in a previous episode, one of the disclaimers was, please excuse the poor audio quality. Ray was sitting too close to the microphone. We will take care of this problem in the future. Because I had my mouth on the microphone.
Yeah, and the
Thinking
entire
that I
time,
needed to, and it was
Yeah.
just like overloading the mic.
I'm like sitting
and-
there and watching them, and I'm like,
Even
am I doing it wrong?
Even in-
I have to be
But
wrong.
I think that's like the instinct if you
Oh, yeah.
when you see a microphone, it's the
To get
instinct to get
close.
right up
yeah,
in there.
even in
Absolutely.
post-production, there was no rescuing that audio.
Yeah.
We
But
don't-
you know what?
fair.
This is a learning experience.
yeah, there was no rescuing that
so
audio.
I'm sure it will only get even more spectacular.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, So I was thinking about what we were going to talk about for this episode and how I was going to lead into this conversation. And then I remembered that you've done a podcast before.
I have. This is
You were
actually
on
my
the-
second podcast appearance, you guys.
I
love that.
So shout out to the Fat Club podcast.
Right, yes.
Which you can find on Spotify. And I met these lovely, lovely people.
On the cruise.
The plus size fashion cruise I went on, which was with TCF, the Curvy Fashionista. And if you are at all interested in plus size fashion, that is required reading. No, it just is. I mean, that's fact. But yeah, they do this really awesome cruise every year, and it's just a bunch of fat babes getting together in their swimsuits, being awesome and having a great time.
Yeah.
And I met these two lovely people, and they were nice enough to have me on their podcast episode.
I listened to that. You were so like well spoken. I was really
Thank you. I was
Please.
drunk. For the unlimited alcohol package, so I was wasted.
That's awesome.
That's the only way to do a cruise.
I'm
honestly.
saying.
That's awesome. Yeah.
No, but we had so much fun, and they were lovely people. So shout out.
Yeah. So what did you guys talk about? Because when I listened to the podcast, I heard a term that I had never actually heard used before, which was super fat.
Yes.
And I had never heard that term
Okay.
used.
I
So-
love this scale. I just learned about it.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I had heard super fat before, but that podcast was when I was introduced to the term infinifat, which I am so sorry I can't remember who coined that term. They do say that in the podcast episode, but it is another person in the space who came up with that term. And the scale on how we differentiate ourselves within the fat community, and again, this is not community-wide, everybody sort of has their own word, which I think is important. But to me, and this is what I said then, and I'll say it now, it's kind of hard to go by like a certain weight or certain measurements, because every body is different.
Yeah, or like a size.
Exactly.
I've seen it broken up by torrid sizing, if that makes sense.
I've seen
like
that. Yep.
Like between this and this
Hannah
size,
works at
and then
Torrid.
if this size isn't available at Torrid, then that, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's one of the definitions of super fat for me, is not being able to go necessarily into a plus size store and find your size. So above 24, which thankfully Torrid does carry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they go
very
up to
often,
30, right?
yes,
They
but
go up
very
to
often,
30.
It's online.
But more
Exactly.
It's
often
more
than
often
not,
online.
fives are not carried in store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
when you
which is
get
a
to
whole
that
other-
point, that to me is one of the sort of metrics for, I feel comfortable calling myself super fat within that category, because I can't even go to a plus size store most of the time and find my size. Another one would be not being able to fit into most chairs with arms.
Yeah.
So super fat being not just fat, but fat to the extent that your day-to-day life is made more difficult or more restrictive by your fatness.
Right.
For reasons like that, logistical reasons like that.
Yeah.
And again, everybody has a different definition, but, there, I think, is an importance, not necessarily drawing lines and further dividing ourselves, but in the sense that just understanding that people experience fatness differently.
Yeah.
And that is valid, that some people have a harder time than others, and
Yeah.
something that should be taken into consideration.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's incredibly important in the plus size community to be able to recognize your privilege as a smaller bodied person.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Because, comparatively to like a size 6, I have it very difficult. But compared to like a size 32, I have it easy breezy, walk in the park, simple as can be. And I think that's really important in order to be able to keep the community not in check, but like as a community, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think talking about the body positivity movement, this brings up a really important topic, and one that's certainly being discussed a lot right now.
Right.
body positivity is not exclusively for the fat community.
Absolutely.
That's true.
It's something that affects literally everyone. And because I'm a dork, I did a little bit of homework and just read some very basic statistics on body image. Something like 91% of women at any given time are on a diet or say they need to lose weight.
Yeah.
46% of young girls aged 9 to 11 say that they are uncomfortable in their body and need to lose weight. So this is starting early, and it doesn't affect just one gender. You know, body image, especially with our, you know, patriarchal society that we live in, it affects everyone, and it's for everyone. That being said, there are a lot of people within the fat community, whether that's fat liberation, fat acceptance, whatever you want to call it, that feel that the body positivity movement has been co-opted by thinner bodies.
100%.
And have been erasing the plus size experience. And that is something that is important. I think, you know, when we talk about things like intersectionality, we have to include size. And I think within both the body positivity and fat acceptance, or, you know, just fat in general spaces, we need to recognize that too, because there would be none of this talk or movement without, you know, fat women of color and in particular fat black women who really paved the way for us to be able to be having these discussions right now and be listened to and taken seriously. But truly, body positivity is a concept for everyone that crosses all, you know, all groups, ages and races and genders and
abilities.
Abilities.
You know, and all different identities. So I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are a self-proclaimed size activist.
Yes, I am.
Which is awesome because I can't say that I am one, purely because I don't think I'm active enough in the sense of like activism. Like I think I think I have my own personal journey with size acceptance and
I think,
body positivity. Yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm necessarily public enough to be an activist about it.
Yeah. And I think that's super valid because any activism, you know, that's hard work and it forces you to confront a lot of noise and stuff, and it's hard and you know, there is a certain amount of, you know, outness and frank public discussion that comes with activism that can be harmful for people.
And it can be very intimidating. It
is very intimidating. Yeah. I can tell you that as somebody who takes on this work as often as possible. Yeah. Even I don't do it 24/7. It's, you know, and I feel like activism is like that no matter what. But yeah, especially when it's something that's so acceptable to be critical of. You know, and I don't want to be playing the oppression Olympics, but you have, I'm sure, heard people say before that fatness is one of the last accepted prejudices, and it is true. Yeah. It's not the only one, but it's true. And people feel very comfortable coming up to you as a stranger in the street, you know, invited, and telling you what they think of the way that you look or what you're eating, or you know, people feel very comfortable doing that, and people feel very comfortable denying fat people their basic human rights. Now we're getting into something a little bit of a separate issue, but if anyone is interested in the radical idea that fat people deserve basic human respect and dignity, then I would encourage you to please check out the National Association for the Advancement of Fat People. Because they have been around for a lot longer than you think. It was, and I don't remember the details exactly, but I know it was organized sometime in the 60s, and they are active today, and they have wonderful outreach programs. A lot of people don't realize, and this is something we touched on in the podcast episode of the Fat Club that I was on. Yeah. Except for a couple of places, I think Michigan being one of them, it is perfectly legal still in the United States and elsewhere to discriminate based on fatness.
Oh my God.
You can be denied a job for being fat. You can be denied anything. It's not included in equal opportunity or any of that stuff, except for certain areas.
I literally had no idea that was true.
Don't. Most people don't.
I had no idea that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing until I was having a conversation with my coworker who is about a size 22, 24.
Mm-hmm.
Who mentioned a job interview that they had gone on and immediately walked out and was like, I'm not getting the job based solely on my size.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you know? And they were like, you can just tell.
Yeah.
And then I experienced workplace discrimination because of it. Mm-hmm. When I was smaller than I am now, which is weird.
Frighteningly common.
Yeah.
If you ask most plus size people, they will tell you at some point. It's a very, very common form of size discrimination. I think second only to medical discrimination and fatphobia.
I feel like the belief that your worth is tied to your health is also very prominent in the fat community.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much ableism.
I see so many people being like, well, if you're fat and healthy,
right,
I could be on my deathbed and I am still worthy of the same human rights and liberties that Joe Schmo down the street.
Absolutely.
Preach.
Absolutely.
Preach. That is the God's honest truth. That is the objective truth. And that is what, fat activism is about. We're talking about people here. Yeah. We shouldn't have to wait until we fit inside some arbitrary descriptor of what is considered acceptable.
Like it's some societal ideal of what people are supposed to look like.
It really is fueled by, like you said, this patriarchal society. Mm-hmm. People don't realize the entire reason fat phobia is a thing is because these huge brands are telling
the male
you
gaze?
That.
Why, yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's men who run huge corporations who believe that they shouldn't have to cater to a woman that they wouldn't have relations with.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Are we being PC?
No, I can censor. I censored the episodes.
Yeah,
I think the only episode I didn't censor last week was because we were talking about, what did we talk about last week?
We talked about your identity.
We were talking about gender identity, and that felt like a very... I didn't feel like I needed to censor that, just because I think I said the F word twice.
Okay. I probably should have asked this before we started.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Yeah.
But anyway,
that conversation was so deeply honest that I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to censor it.
Absolutely. And I don't think
so. You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, bottom line, men assign value to women. And I'm making a generalization here, obviously. # not all men.
Yeah, not all men.
But historically and societally, society in general, a patriarchal society, assigns value to women based on, if they're effable or not.
Yeah, whether or not.
And if you don't hold the male gaze and the male interest, then you are worth less.
Yeah, then you, I guess. Yeah. So,
and that's the reality.
Yeah,
of it. It's internalized with people of all genders.
Yeah.
Especially at this point with all the messages we receive. There's a fantastic blogger who was a big part of my introduction into fat acceptance and the fat online space. Her name is Reagan Chastain.
I love Reagan Chastain.
Yeah, I love her too.
I follow her.
Her blog is called Dances with Fat.
Mm-hmm.
And she counted one time how many negative messages about her body she got in one day just from walking around, just from media, from ads, from other people, and it was, I don't remember the number, but it was a staggeringly horrifying number.
Yeah.
So this is subconsciously and consciously pounded into us.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
100%.
So it's hard not to, have this internalized fat phobia.
Yeah.
And I think that's why pointing it out is very important and
Absolutely.
a great form of activism because awareness is important.
Absolutely. I have like distinct memories of people in my family who, I'm sure when I say that you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I do.
I have distinct memories of being told what I could and couldn't wear because it didn't look good on my body. And I remember I went out shopping with one of these people, and I picked up a pair of cut-off shorts, and they were short shorts, and they had them in my size, and I wanted to get them. So I went to the person that was with me and was back to school shopping with me, and I said, "Oh my God, they have shorts in my size. We got to get them." And her response was, "You don't have the body for those shorts." And I was like, "Cool, I'm 12." Like, you know, like,
Yep.
it was from a young age.
Yeah, and
from a
because
young
you know
age.
what? And I'm not defending that position, but that's what they were told.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I feel like, especially in families with diet culture and the whole, you know, being raised to be thin
Yeah.
really comes from a place of generational trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people associate your self-worth and your I can't think of a better word than self-worth with the way you look.
Yeah.
Like, it took me a long time to be able to say I'm comfortable with my body. I like my body. I'm fine.
Yeah, and
You
you're
know?
heads and shoulders above a lot of people
Yeah.
who never learn that lesson or learn it.
Yeah,
you
like,
know.
I know I'm
Years
plus
down the
sized,
line.
and I am using, like, we talked about this in one of the episodes. I'm using Noom, which is that, like, psychology-based weight loss program. I'm using it to be healthy. I'm not using it to be skinny. I'm using it so my health is good, because I found out I have high cholesterol. And I was like, okay, I want to fix that. And he told me that a dietary change would be good. And I was like, okay, then I'll eat healthier. That's the only reason I'm doing it. I want to be healthy. I don't care how much weight I lose. You know, like, I'm fine with it. You know?
Yeah, and I think everyone needs to make those decisions, you know, with their own goals in mind and not informed by all of these messages telling you that you have to be skinny.
Absolutely.
And that you don't
I see no need to be skinny. I don't see any reason to be skinny.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to be. I don't care.
And, you know, loving your body is a constant practice.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
And it doesn't happen every moment of every day. And there
No.
can be tremendous pressure when you're working on that, to feel that way. And I think, you know, there's been a discussion, I think more recently, about that, how body positivity puts that pressure on people, enough so that a new term, or newish, new to me, has been emerging, or a new movement called body neutrality.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth talking about too. Because
Absolutely.
it's hard. Loving your body all the time is not realistic
Yeah.
Yeah.
for anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think we have enough pressures on us.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to add that. And, you know, if you don't love your body all the time, that's okay.
That's fine.
That doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
invalid or doing something wrong. But I do think that the journey of coming to accept yourself and your body as part of yourself and your self-worth is a really healing one and a really necessary one.
Absolutely.
To counteract the consistent messaging that we get that we are not okay. And,
Yeah.
I think that is something that is a practice rather than a decision, and something that you have to work at. And there are tools and tips and tricks to doing that, as I have come to learn throughout my journey.
yeah.
And I think, you know, everybody has their own, but just even that realization that it's a practice is, I think, an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
I also find that dependent on the person, some of the tips and tricks are stuff that, like, you're not going to find on a website. Like,
Absolutely.
when I'm having a really bad day and I'm like, oh, I'm not happy with the skin that I'm in and all this stuff, I just, like, my body is the least interesting thing about me. Like, that's what I have to think. And it's just like, yeah, you know what?
Perspective.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. You're a wildly interesting person.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god. Right. Yeah. Cutting onions.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. What was?
Is there some dust in
I
here?
think like the second or third time we hung out, we had the conversation of, I think we're platonic soulmates.
Oh yeah.
I think we had that conversation, and I love that because like that's the kind of friendship that you like. That it's like in like the coming of age movie that's like the adaptation of John Green's book. It's that's painted as the ideal.
Yeah.
So
like if you were to be like, I need to follow this girl, she left me a paper trail, I'd be like, you're nuts, let's go.
I'd be like, you're insane, get in the car.
Yeah. I'm driving. You look at the map.
Get in the car.
That's a horrible idea. Let's do it.
Yeah, that was like when we said we were gonna go out drinking. I was like, what if I meet somebody? And you were like, if we go together, we're leaving together. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh my god. We were sitting in an IHOP and I was like, you want to go bar hopping? And jokingly said, what if I meet somebody? And you were like, you're not gonna do that. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, yes sir. Yes ma'am. Whatever you say. Sorry, mom. Sorry. I was like, damn, okay. Jesus.
You know?
Yeah, so, yeah, but one thing I definitely wanted to talk about in this episode is, before we even get into diet culture, we know about workplace discrimination now, which I was not aware of. You know, there's lots of different places of discrimination, but the biggest place that I find an issue, and I've personally had this issue, is with doctors in healthcare.
Oh my god.
Medical fatphobia,
Is
my
in
favorite.
Yeah. When I was seeing my previous doctor, it was a pediatrician, because apparently you're supposed to see a pediatrician until you're 21.
Really?
You typically see a pediatrician until you're 21, and then you move on to a general practitioner. I stopped seeing my pediatrician when I was almost 18, because every time I would go to see her, here's an example. One time I was really struggling to breathe, and it came out of nowhere, and I was like really, like I was wheezing, and like I had pain in my forehead, and I was like, well, I clearly have a sinus infection, but I think something else is wrong too. And when I swallowed, it felt like I was swallowing glass. I was like, okay, apparently I also have strep. Because when I get sick, I get sick. I get strep, a sinus infection, an ear infection.
You don't do anything halfway.
I don't do anything
I've never
halfway.
met another person who gets like that, but I'm the same way.
Seriously?
I swear to God, the last time I was sick, I had double pink eye infection and like 6 respiratory issues.
I get like double ear infection, strep, and a sinus infection all at once.
And it's awful.
So I go to see her, and I schedule this appointment for the next day, and I go to see her, and I'm describing all my symptoms. I'm like, I feel like I'm swallowing glass. I feel like I'm swimming in my head, like my head is kind of swimming, and I'm really struggling to breathe. Anybody would be like, you probably have strep, you probably have a sinus infection, and you might have an upper respiratory infection if you're struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
Her response was that she was going to put me on a dietary regimen that would make me feel better, because it would make me healthy and it would help me lose weight, and then my symptoms would go away.
The diagnosis of fat has been responsible for so many missed, like, real, actual
and I was so
diagnoses.
angry, and I thought it was such absolute bullshit that I went to an urgent care. And I said to her, I walked in and I said, I explained my symptoms. She said, okay, the doctor will be right with you. And I said, I need somebody who's not going to look at my size and tell me that I'm fat, and that's the problem.
Diagnose me like I'm skinny.
And her response was, nobody's going to do that here. Nobody is going to diagnose you fat and say, that's what your issue is. And I was like, okay, good. I was like, good. So I went back with the doctor, and she was like, I gotta ask why you said that. Like, she told me that you said that. And I was like, because I went to my pediatrician, and I explained all my symptoms, and she told me that she was going to put me on a dietary regimen. And she goes, oh my God. And she was like shocked. And I said, can you find out what's wrong with me? I'm suffering. And she was like, yeah. So she did a bunch of tests, and I had bronchitis, a sinus infection, strep, and an ear infection.
Oh my God.
All at once.
That sounds miserable.
And her response, and I said, okay, thank you. And she prescribed me all these antibiotics. Mm-hmm. And then she says to me, she goes, and your doctor didn't even do any tests? And I said, no, didn't do a single test.
That is such a common experience, which is so sad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now I'll only go to like a city MD. That's the only place I'll go.
Well, it's not necessarily a single place. It's
it's just that particular
doctor.
Location.
Yeah.
every time I go there, they treat me like a patient.
And that's what you have to do. You have to seek out. But so many people avoid going to the doctor anyway, and it can be so exhausting and time-consuming and expensive.
And then you
try
get there,
to find a doctor to treat your actual issue.
And then they get there, and then you get there, and they waste your time by telling you you're fat, lose weight.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, but I have all these infections, and all you did was tell me that I'm fat.
So I would just like to mention a couple resources here, because this is such a common issue within the fat community.
Absolutely.
That is so actually dangerous.
Oh my God.
Legitimately dangerous.
People.
Yeah, legitimately dangerous.
Absolutely kills people.
Legitimately fatal.
That I need to mention, it can be hard for people to be their own advocate.
Absolutely.
And again, first, I would like to mention Reagan Chastain, Dances with Fat. She actually published a guide for how to talk to doctors, even a script of what to say.
Yeah.
To bring with you. You can print it out and bring it with you. You can share it with your doctor. Saying things like, what treatment would you recommend for this issue for a thin person? And asking them outright, and then saying, I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Just things like that even. And also, you don't have to be weighed if you don't want to be.
You can deny it.
Yeah, I've denied it before. And when I was seeing my pediatrician, I started denying it. But now I'm seeing a GP, and she's amazing. She's so, the least fat phobic. She's great.
And you may want to be weighed, but the point is, it's your choice.
Yeah, I started feeling comfortable being weighed, and I said to her, I was like, I'm comfortable being weighed, but I don't want to be told what I weigh.
Right.
And her response was, no problem. And she was like, okay, so you're a little above where you should be, which was putting it nicely. And she was like, you're a little above where you should be. And she was like, that's not a huge issue. She was like, you have, medical problems. I have PCOS. She was like, I'm not surprised. PCOS always does this. And she was validating my experience. And being there's nothing wrong with it. You're healthy.
Well, and I think that's great, but
But that should be the standard.
But I also want to point out that were that not the case, you're still deserving of accurate medical care.
Oh, well, 100%. 100%.
And oftentimes that is denied or overlooked. And I think, it's hard enough, especially with the state of, insurance and the medical system in this country.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I just want to make sure people know that guide from Reagan Chastain is out there. There's also a really great poem that very aptly illustrates this issue. Her name is Rachel Wiley. The name of the poem is called The Fat Joke. You can find it on her performance of it on the Button Poetry
I love Button
YouTube
Poetry.
channel. I know, I love them too.
I like Neil Hilborn.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
He writes a lot of really incredible poetry. I like his something telling a conversation with my mom, and it's telling her about describing your depression to your mom and trying to validate it, and her just being no.
There's just such moving stuff on Button Poetry anyway.
Yeah.
But that one in particular, I think that performance that she does just really illustrates the danger of medical fat phobia and the experience that so many of us have. The last resource specifically for medical fat phobia that I want to mention is Dr. Linda Bacon, who is sometimes credited with starting the Health at Every Size movement. on her website, there's a national or maybe even international directory of health at every size physicians.
Oh, okay.
These
That's
are
incredible.
That's
medical
great.
professionals that have actually studied, this issue and are, knowledgeable about, weight and health not being the same thing, and how to compassionately and accurately treat
That's awesome.
fat people.
That's awesome.
incredible.
And I think that it's a resource that's growing every day, and I want to make sure people know about that as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Because this is such a widespread issue, and it's tough. And
Yeah.
when there's so many people out there saying that you're not worth anything unless you're skinny and unless you're healthy, I think that's sort of in the cultural zeitgeist, and so medical professionals can't help but to have a certain amount of fat phobia, just like the rest of us, but some are better than others, and I think finding that physician that is willing to spend the time and actually treat you is not just important but critical, because as I said, people die from this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. I think something that a lot of doctors don't understand is we understand that certain things can be exacerbated by weight. We're not saying that.
We're not saying that. That's
we're not
true.
saying that my PCOS might get a little bit better if I lose 30 pounds. I get that, but when we're going to the doctor and saying, "Hey, I can't breathe. There's something wrong."
Yeah, I feel
and
like
their response
glass.
isn't immediately, "Let's run some tests and then we'll talk about if weight loss could be something that would help this." And their response is, "Well, you need to lose weight, go somewhere else.
Right.
Here's a diet regimen."
Right.
It's killing people.
Yeah, and it's irresponsible. And if someone refuses to give you
Sorry, I got an email from my school saying, "Beware of bears!"
Great.
There was a black bear sighting.
Oh, that happens all the time.
That's great. One time I remember being on campus and I got a text that was like, "Avoid the dining hall, there's bears in the field." And I was like, "Oh, great. Alright, so I'm ordering takeout." Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
the joys of going to a small school in the country.
In the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So you were saying, sorry.
No, just that if you are
I'm
refused...
the poster child for ADHD.
If you are refused the standard of care to which you are entitled, you do not have to pay that copay. You can walk out and say, "You're not treating me to the standard of care that I should be getting, and I am not paying for this appointment."
Yeah.
I've also
You're the customer,
found,
because it's a for-profit medical system here in these United States, and so you absolutely have that option.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's also, I know I've never tried it. I'm very grateful. I don't know that my physicians are super pro health of all size, but he doesn't bring it up, which I'm grateful enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in Blairstown, small country area. I'm very grateful that they don't bring it up, unless I bring it up, of course. But I know people who have said that even talking to your doctor and being like, you know, if they do refuse to take care of you and do actual tests, you can ask them to put it in their chart. And then it is there for insurance to see. It is on record. It is written. It can be used in the court of law.
Yeah, you could say, like, can you put in my chart that you refused to treat me?
Yeah.
And that you wouldn't do any tests? And then usually they'll do tests.
But yeah, that's another great point, and something else that's covered in that guide, which again I just want to mention.
That's so important.
It is
so important that people know that.
Healthcare is just it's
rampant.
It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't exist.
And,
fat phobia shouldn't exist in the first place.
Oh yeah, of course not.
But this is also on top of the difference in care already that women receive. That black women receive.
Oh my God! Yeah.
This is just another layer talking about intersectionality again, but it's valid. It's it really, unless you're a white man, you're not getting the top standard of care for the most part.
Absolutely not.
And that needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna Get into diet culture.
Yes. The $7 billion industry that is diet culture.
For anybody who doesn't know, what is diet culture? How would you describe it?
I would describe it as a large for-profit industry in the same way you talk about big pharma and big tobacco. It is a juggernaut of again, $7 billion with a B dollar industry that is everywhere, marketing this illusion of weight loss, permanent weight loss. And I say illusion because the statistics on this are very clear, and continue to show, study after study, that intentional weight loss in the long term has an extremely low success rate.
It's very
below 5% of people.
It's very much not sustainable.
Well, yeah, there's so much data on this, but the studies show that over a 5-year period, the amount of people who lose a significant amount of weight and keep it off for any significant amount of time is approaching statistically insignificant. It starts at 5%, and the further through time you get,
it just goes.
It goes to statistical
more
zero.
Down. Yeah.
So that being said, this is one of the only instances that I can think of where we have doctors everywhere prescribing a course of treatment with a less than 5% success rate.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the time. Nowhere else would you do that. If you had, God forbid, cancer, and you were offered a treatment
that had a less than
5% success rate,
you'd be like, get the out of here.
You would throw that doctor out of the room.
You'd be like, get out. Like, you're insane.
And
you might even switch hospitals.
The reason why this is such a persistent thing is because of that $7 billion a year diet culture who markets weight loss like it's something that is a real solution.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, already I can hear the comments a roaring and a rumbling of somebody's cousins, friends, former coworkers, boss's daughter who lost 100 pounds on Weight Watchers and has kept it off for 20 years. And yes, those people exist.
Absolutely.
They are in the distinct minority. But that diet industry, big diet, they want you to believe that is 100% possible for everyone. And that it's just a simple math equation of calories in, calories out. Well, guess what? If that were the case, there'd be no fat people.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
And, still we get people going on morning talk shows that will die on that hill. That is wrong, and that you can lose weight if you just work hard enough.
Yeah.
The reason why monsters like Jillian Michaels exist and thrive and are successful is because of diet culture. And yes, I called her a monster. If you disagree with me, do a little Googling, honey. And then come back and talk to me.
Yeah. And you have these game shows like The Biggest Loser. I used to sit there and watch that, idolizing those people at like 9 years
now
old.
I just
being like, one of those days I'm gonna be that thin. One of these days I'll look like Jillian Michaels.
And now that is diet culture.
Absolutely.
Because that thought has been marketed to you since you were a baby.
Yeah.
And that is diet culture.
Yeah.
And the reality is most of us end up damaging our health through dieting.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Far more.
Oh my god.
Than anything else.
Than being plus sized or being unhealthy or being fat or whatever you want to call it.
Diet culture absolutely kills people.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten into eating disorders.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to cover.
Especially
because diet culture can just, I've experienced it. It can so validate and, what is the word I'm looking for?
I feel like validate is a very fitting
it can
word.
validate eating disorders
100%.
in a sense where I'm not saying eating disorders are invalid, but it almost like kind of gives it the stamp of approval.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's seen early on until people realize what a problem it is for that individual or realize the extent of it. It's seen as quote unquote morally good behavior.
Yeah,
because you're exercising a lot. You're not eating much. You're being good.
Yeah,
this is what we expect morally from our fatties. Because if you're fat and you're not on a diet and you're not showing everyone you're on a diet, then how dare you? How dare you have clothes that fit? How dare you enjoy your life? How dare you eat food in public? And that is a big part of my activism, and you don't think it's a big act until you look around you. If you are a fat person and you go to the ice cream stand and you get the full fat, not sugar-free ice cream cone, and you sit there and you eat it and it drips down your hand and you have a great time and you take pictures and post it to your Instagram, that is revolutionary, and people will stare at you.
Oh yeah.
And good. That is activism. Because you're out there and you're eating in public as a fat person, and that is revolutionary. And I think the fatty in line at the cupcake store, the fatty at the ice cream stand, if you're fat and you're eating in public in general, but if it's anything other than a salad or a rice cake, congratulations, you're a fat activist, because what you are doing is revolutionary.
What I find interesting is that sometimes I find that fat people are damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I tried going to the gym at my school, and I told you about this.
Yeah, you and I had a nice conversation about it.
I tried using the gym at my school because I wanted to, start working out. And I was like, you know what? I worked out during quarantine and I lost 30 pounds. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I felt pretty good when I was, at that weight. I felt healthy. You know what I mean? It's not, I didn't care about the way I looked. It was that I felt a little better. It was easier to,
well, yeah, I mean, exercising to feel good.
Yeah, that was the point.
It's been proven to
help.
It's
not to punish yourself.
No, yeah, I was trying to feel good.
It's to feel
good.
And
I was doing strength training, so I was like, I haven't done it in a while. Let me try to get back into it. I'm just gonna jog on the treadmill. I'm gonna combination walk and jog. I'll jog until I get tired, and then I'll walk until I recover, and then I'll jog a little bit more. So I didn't even get a chance to start, because I got there and I got to the treadmill and I had my headphones on already, and I started you put your keys and your wallet and your phone and you put it all on the treadmill, and I had my headphones on, and I was listening to AJR, as I do, and I heard there were these lacrosse guys in the gym, and I just heard one of them start cracking up, so I was curious. I was like, what's happening? So I paused it, and I heard that they were laughing about the fact that I was in the gym. And they were like, fatty on the treadmill. And I immediately grabbed all my stuff and walked out, because I was not going to work out. I don't have the confidence.
Space.
I don't have the confidence to be like, you know. I walked out and I haven't been back, because they were very much laughing at the fact that someone of my size was in the gym. And it's like, so you're gonna tell me that I'm fat and I need to lose weight, and I'm not gonna be valid until I lose weight and I'm skinny. But when I'm trying to lose weight and I'm actively in a space where the point is to be healthy, and I'm gonna start working out, you're gonna make fun of me for that too.
That was one of the first concepts that got me into this space of health at every size, of fat activism, and it was my introduction, and I'm sorry I keep bringing her up.
No, you're fine.
To Reagan Chastain. There was a post in particular where she talks about getting ready for swimsuit season.
Yeah.
That I actually have pinned, that I reread every year, that talks about this very thing. You cannot have it both ways. If you're going to be vocal about the fact that people are fat and need to lose weight, and then run them out of the spaces where they can exercise, then you're really just an asshole.
Yeah,
100%.
You are an asshole.
Something that you said that I really want to tackle here is that it has nothing to do with your confidence. It has everything to do with the fact that they are disgusting. I feel like fat phobia
Is that your stomach?
Sorry.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I have stomach issues.
I was hearing you go it's not about your. I was like, what is happening?
Danielle's stomach has entered the chat.
She has things to say.
So, about the confidence.
But a point that I think is really important to just bluntly say is fat phobia is not about health as much as these people want to say they care about you.
It is not about health.
It is about oppressing a group they don't find to be the ideal.
Yeah.
You can only eat a salad, but if you eat that salad in public, then you're just a fat whale who can't get enough of that salad.
Yeah, and how much dressing did you put on that
and
salad?
maybe if you didn't eat it with ranch, you'd lose the weight.
Yeah.
But also, you need to focus on your health, but only if you go to a doctor that's telling you that losing weight is the answer, even if you're there, sitting there with a very visible illness.
You're not on a diet. What is wrong with you?
You want to go to the gym? You're not allowed there.
You're not actively trying to lose weight. What is wrong with you?
Aren't staring at yourself crying at night.
You are comfortable with your body.
You don't hate your body. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the you can never win and everybody's got something to say, and that also carries over too into people coming up to strangers in their space thinking it's okay to comment.
I've had
and
that happen.
Happens at the gym quite often, and I think people mean it to be encouraging because they look at the fat person at the gym and think, oh, they just bought their gym membership.
Good for them.
They're finally up off the couch. And they go, when they pat you on the back and they say, hey, stick with it, you're doing great. And I know that that's meant to be positive.
Yeah.
But those inferences are fat phobic. You don't know how long I've been at this gym. I could be an athlete.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There are 400 plus pound people who run marathons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a woman I follow who's a dancer. She has done ads with Old Navy. She has
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I believe her username is Lizzie Dances on TikTok.
Yes.
She's also on Instagram, Twitter. You can follow her pretty much everywhere. And unbelievably talented. Unequivocally so talented. And you just look at the comments and
don't look at the comments.
It's awful. And she has even said finding a dance studio has been a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Being able to do these things has been a blessing, but also
it's been hell.
Yeah. She's just existing.
Well, just particularly fat athletes, I think, really are just put through the ringer so much more. And again, it's so counterintuitive because here is this person excelling at something with their fat body, and people can't accept that. I think a lot of Jessamine Stanley and her amazing yoga, life-changing for me, yoga practices, there's so many other people that we can mention. There's
countless.
There are so many.
I mean, not even athletes. When Lizzo first was coming onto the scene, people were tearing her apart.
And she is my hero because she gives no shits and she knows 100%. She's sexy as hell and she does not need those people. And that is my goal. And
I love that about her.
She is my entire treadmill playlist.
Oh yeah.
All Lizzo.
I love that.
But people, they say that garbage about you're promoting obesity.
Yeah, anytime anyone fat does anything successful, they're promoting obesity. Unless they're trying to lose weight.
Oh yeah.
Unless they're the spokeswoman for Jenny Craig.
Yeah.
And then they're being a good fatty, so it's okay.
I just also find it insane that when Adele lost weight and she posted that picture of her weight loss, everybody was like talking about it. Everybody was talking about it.
Same with Rebel Wilson.
Everybody. It was the only thing people were talking about is the fact that she lost weight.
Yep.
You know, like...
It was like they'd been waiting for it for years.
Nobody was talking about what an incredible singer she is.
Like, none of her accomplishments
nobody
meant anything
was talking,
because this was, like, the best thing she ever did.
Nobody was talking about, like, she just seems like she's so, like, just the coolest person. Like, nobody was talking about that. Nobody's talking about how fucking funny she is. She's hilarious.
Well, that happens every
Rebel
single
Wilson.
time.
Nobody was talking about what a talented actress she is, how funny she is, how successful she was as a fat person.
Yeah.
And everybody is just like, oh, like, they ignore everything else and they focus on, you lost weight.
You're not worthy until you are straight size.
It's just, it's
That's
ridiculous.
How they see it.
And these are the things that, you know, everyone sees that reinforces this notion that, you know, again, you're not worth anything.
Adele and Rebel Wilson were beautiful before they lost weight.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And I hate the idea that these people are saying, oh, look how beautiful she looks. She was fucking beautiful. She was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
She's always been gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Rebel Wilson, always been gorgeous. Like, I don't understand why people... I do understand, but it frustrates me that people look at somebody and they ignore everything about them that is worth mentioning, and they look at them and they say they are not the ideal standard of beauty. They do not fit typical beauty standards.
Yeah.
They are not valid.
Well, it's also about representation, and I think that's where the dialogue that is very controversial comes in when you have these fat celebrities that are successful and then lose a bunch of weight. It's a touchy subject within and without the fat community because, you know, the whole point is this is a person that should be accepted and celebrated for their achievements regardless of what they look like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
However, that being said,
Well, that's another
we all
one we
know
lost.
that representation matters,
Yeah.
and there are so few plus size idols that stay plus sized that it's kind of difficult and always brings up mixed feelings. And that's not to say that's not a value judgment on somebody, you know, in the public eye losing weight. Because again, you know, above all else, we have to be for bodily autonomy, and this is this person's journey and their body. And we don't get to pass judgment on that regardless. But that being said, that is an issue and a subject of representation, because it seems like every time, not every time, but many times when a fat celebrity becomes successful, they immediately lose a lot of weight. And it can be difficult for people looking for fat representation. And again, I say that without any kind of value judgment on weight loss or on those celebrities who have done those things.
Absolutely.
But it is, you know, something to think about.
Yeah, it is one of those, you know, it's like, you know, good for you for, you know, going on this journey and losing this weight, and if that's what you wanted to do, then great. But it is kind of like, that's one less kind of person, quote unquote, fighting for us, you know what I mean? And that is an inherent feeling, and it's not a value, it's not to speak to anybody's value, but it is kind of the thought of like, okay, that's one less person that is representing us, and
or to hold up as an example of a successful person that looks like me.
I think that brings up another like super good point with them getting famous and immediately losing weight, is the fat phobia that exists in Hollywood. 9 out of 10 times that Rebel Wilson was in the movie, she was the funny fat friends.
Right.
She was just the pig who sits on the couch and, oh, look at me eating. Oh, yeah, I go home and I eat 16 tubs of ice cream. Aren't I so funny?
Yeah.
I don't blame them for wanting to, but it's such a widespread issue that, like...
Yeah.
isn't going to get fixed.
That's it. Those are the parts.
Yeah.
That's it.
Even, and this was the first time that I felt connected to a person or character is like A.D. Bryant with Shrill.
Absolutely.
Even then, like, I feel like there's never just a role that is just the main character.
Right.
I can't just be fat but it not be mentioned.
Right.
It has to be, look at me, I'm a main character, I'm fat, I might not mention it every episode, but you're going to know. Because I'm going to mention it, and people are going to say it.
Right. It's either about making a statement about the fat experience, and there's value for that too.
100%.
Or it's the fat best friend, and those are the options. Or it's, the maid, or the grandma.
Or like the evil stepmom.
Or the villain. Absolutely.
100%.
And that's something that hasn't changed, really.
Yeah.
And I think, I want content with fat people front and center. I want that representation. So I loved Shrill. I loved Dietland. I've been a big fan of Joy Nash for a while. She has a bunch of great YouTube videos from like a million years ago that are still there that everyone should check out, who starred in Dietland. But also, like...
I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah, the book is great. The series is great. Highly recommend. Shrill, again, the book is great.
I haven't read the book, but I did really enjoy the
series. Also talking about, like, books about this subject, Roxane Gay is my go-to. Like, everyone should read her. She should be required reading. Virgie Tovar. Sonia Renee Taylor. If you want to work on body positivity, her workbook... Oh my god, everyone go get it. Like, life-changing.
I watched Dumplin' on Netflix, and I liked that because it did touch on the fact that she was plus-sized. But that was not the main focus of the movie. The main focus is, I'm going to be in this beauty pageant, and I hope I'm going to win, and I'm trying to figure out who I am, and I don't really understand my identity, and I'm going to go to a drag show with my best friend, and it was like, it was not the main focus of the movie. It's touched on when she joins this beauty pageant, and they're like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm doing this. And...
Doesn't she do it, like, as a protest?
She does it to embarrass,
to make a point.
She does it to embarrass her mom because her mom just thinks she's not like beauty pageant material, but she doesn't say it's because she's fat. So I don't know about the book, but in the movie that she doesn't say it's because she's fat. She just says that she's not like prim and proper, and she's not like a Southern belle, and she's not like the kind of person that would like enter a beauty pageant. So she's like, I'm gonna enter the beauty pageant just to embarrass my mom, and then she like gets into it, and like her being plus sized is not the main story in the movie. It's not the main focus of the movie, and I thought that was incredible. I thought that was great because it was just kind of like she's existing and she's fat and they mention it, but it's not like every other scene is like I have to fight and like stuff like that. It's like, who am I? Like I gotta learn who I am. You know what I mean? And it's like I gotta learn more about my own identity. And I think like her aunt passes and she's like, this was the person who I connected with, and now I don't have her, and she was guiding me through my life, and now I need to guide myself. And that's very much the focus of the movie, and it's like finding yourself. And I appreciated that her being plus size is not the like giant big theme in the movie. I appreciated that.
I also feel like things have gotten at least marginally better in the media space, where they're at least, for the most part, casting fat actors in these roles. Like, can we please be done with the fat suit?
Yeah, it's not needed.
Yeah,
it's
there's
not
just
needed.
so many horrible examples of that. I mean, it is still happening. Yeah. I know the whole This Is Us thing, it was such a controversy with the actor, whose name I can't remember, who plays opposite Chrissy Metz.
I know who you're talking
about.
Who wore a
fat suit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I think he did a fantastic job as an actor. I'm not taking that away from him.
Oh, yeah.
But I guarantee you there was an actually fat actor that could have done as great, if not better, of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't want to take jobs away from anyone, but centering the conversation on someone who is not fat rather than saying, hey, this is a role for a fat person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're putting somebody in a fat suit, you know, we need to make that unacceptable because it
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, obviously we have a long way to go, but I do feel like there's at least been some headway made with that.
Yeah.
So
Some semblance of things.
we got to
getting a
take
little better.
the positives where we can.
We
So,
gotta take the wins as they come, you know.
absolutely.
So we've reached our time.
All
It's
right.
been an hour and 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time
me,
flies when you're having fun.
me and Hannah have realized,
Yeah,
while we're doing these episodes, that the time goes by very quick.
Oh, yeah.
And every time we're like, okay, you know, like, this is great. How long have we been going? Oh, wow, we reached our limit. And
Next
we're just
topic.
like,
Just kidding. It's been
we're
an
just
hour
like,
and
next
a half.
topic. It's been, like, we were recording and we, I looked at the time and I was like, we've probably been going for like half an hour. And I looked and it was an hour and 15 minutes. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that was our
holy
episode
crap.
on grief.
That was the episode
That
on
was
grief.
the
And I was
mental
like,
health grief
damn.
episode.
I
A lot
was
to
like,
say about
holy
that.
shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you again for having me.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
coming
Thank you for
on.
being here.
This has been a blast.
Your perspective on things, you're so informed, and I love hearing your perspective on
Thank you.
things, and I think a lot of people will enjoy that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully I wanted to, you know, just sort of info dump as much as I could
Yeah.
for people because those are the resources that have helped me. There's so many more out there and I think once you start looking, it's easy to find now, which
Yeah.
is great. There's
Yeah.
so many great creators and so much informative and helpful content out there.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I hope the people who do listen are, you know, inspired to be their own advocate.
Our 6 viewers.
those 6 viewers.
Those 6 viewers.
To you 6.
Hats off to you.
Be your
6
own advocate.
people that watch our podcast.
And you know, hopefully we've opened some opportunities for some good discussions around
Yeah,
here because this can be a hard
Yeah.
thing to talk about, especially with people who are in your life that love you that maybe don't have a frame of reference for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
people who love you and care about you, who, you know, have never experienced this stuff or not to the same extent, or
Yeah.
the people who have, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week, and yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. We'll see you next Tuesday.
When. Oh, I got you.
Oh,
I got you. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Those
Oh
6
my
people. I can't believe you said that to those
Get
6
your
people.
mind out of the gutter.
My goodness.
You're a child.
What kind of podcast is this?
I hate you. Next time we see you, I will be of legal drinking age.
Woo!
yeah.
Which is very exciting.
Very
That's
exciting.
5 days from today.
Oh, God. We're going to have to record this podcast after the bar hopping.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Tuesday
Well, you wanna-
after. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll see you then.
It's not the worst idea. You'll already be at my dorm. You'll already be
Might
staying
be
over.
recording right now.
We just might not.
Drink that water. Hydrate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. We'll see you guys soon.